Hi, I'm here with my good friend, Mr. Richard Ward here. And we are about to unbox my new book, Karahan Tepe, Civilization of the Anunnaki and the Cosmic Origins of the Serpent of Eden. And we're going to be having a little chat about this, and we're going to have a look at the book and see what it's like, and take it from there, really. So let's have a look. I'm assuming that this is the book. I got a parcel the other day from Simon & Schuster, who are the distributor for Inner Traditions, the publisher. So, as I've not ordered any other books, I'm going to assume that that's exactly what it is. So, let's take away the packing. And there we go, Karahan Tepe. So let's put a couple out of those on the table and get rid of this box. Right, let's have a look. There we are, Mr. Richards.
Thank you.
Okay, right. Well, obviously this is the end product of a study into what's known as the Taş Tepeler movement, the people behind the construction of the incredible pre-pottery and Neolithic sites of Göbekli Tepe and Karahan Tepe. And of course, this follows on from the past books that I've done on the subject, like Göbekli Tepe, Genesis of the Gods, the Cygnus Key, Denisovan Origins, I did with Greg Little, and also going all the way back to 1996 with my book From the Ashes of Angels, which I researched with this good man here, actually. So we spent many hours going through very obscure journals, checking stuff out, relating to things like what was it? On the Zagros Flanks?
Yeah,
was
something. It? Oh, I can't remember.
But anyway, really obscure papers, basically, to create From the Ashes of Angels. So the end product of that is this, basically. So let's have a look, shall we? All right, there's a picture here of the new enclosure that was uncovered on the summit of Karahan Tepe just last year. Some more pictures of all of that. So what's your first thoughts there?
Yeah, it looks good. Nice cover image, obviously, of the pit shrine, I think it is there, isn't it?
Yeah. No, that's the pillar shrine.
Sorry, the pillar shrine.
Yeah, that's structure AB.
Which is obviously is something which you can read about in the book. So, as you've already said, Andrew, this is the next in what has been a long line of books exploring the origins of archaeology and civilization in this area. So what would you say is brand new in this particular chapter in your research?
I think what's brand new is Karahan Tepe itself. This is a site that I first visited as far back as 2004. I was visiting the area. I've been invited to take part in a cultural festival in Diyarbakir, and as part of the deal I was given a driver and an interpreter for a week so that I could go around various of these sites that I'd already been writing about, and that included Göbekli Tepe. So I went to Göbekli Tepe for the first time. I went to the ancient city of the Sabians or Chaldeans known as Haran, which features a lot in this book, by the way. And whilst I was there, some kids came up to me and they wanted to sell me a second-hand book on Haran and the environs, and I bought that from them. And in the back there was just a picture of a T-shaped pillar at this place called Karahan Tepe. I just looked at it and I thought, oh my God, this is the same culture that created Göbekli Tepe. I thought, I've just got to find it. And within a couple of days, I was in the Tek Mountains, which is where Karahan Tepe is located. And nobody seemed to know where this place was. But eventually we asked this guy in Arab clothes on a tractor where it was, and he sort of pointed in a certain direction. And we went there, And then we went to this farmhouse, and this kid came out, and the interpreter asked him where Karahan Tepe was, and he just pointed to this hill to the south. And we walked towards it, and eventually, as we were getting closer, we could see stone tools, stone tools which I'd earlier seen at places like Göbekli Tepe scattered around. By the way, when we went to Göbekli Tepe for the first time, there was no road, there was no visitor centre like there is today. There was nothing. We had to navigate based on the sole tree on the hill at Göbekli Tepe. So as you're walking through valleys and fields and up hills, you gradually see more and more stone tools. And this is exactly what the case was at Karahan Tepe. So I knew we were at the right spot. And when we got there, we could see all of these T-pillars that were just sticking up above the surface of the ground. And also there were like these L-shaped fragments of what they call porthole stones that looked like something out of a medieval building, like the mullions of a window. And yet these items were at least 10,000 years old. We now know they're probably at least 11,000. And yet the strange thing is that as we were looking at, all these fragments, there was a broken T-pillar on the ground, not very big. And I was trying to feel underneath it to see if there was any carving on it. And our helpful driver, this big Kurdish guy, came across and he just lifted it up. And I saw that exactly where my hand was a scorpion, a big blue scorpion. And it really took me back, because I thought, oh my God, if I'd have got stung, not only would I have been seriously ill, I could have got killed. And that seriously affected me. But what's so weird is that becomes a massive omen and synchronicity to the work that we eventually end up doing at Karahan, where it looks very clear that one of the principal alignments at Karahan Tepe in various of its structures is towards the galactic bulge, galactic centre, by the side of which, of course, is the stars of Scorpius. And although Scorpius is seen often as a scorpion, of course, as in the zodiac sign, it was also seen by many ancient cultures as a serpent, basically a snake, like a genius of a snake. And what I realised is that the whole of the Milky Way was being seen by the Taş Tepeler culture as a world-encircling snake or serpent. And this is something that's universal around the world. You can find it all over the place. And here it was 11,000 years ago at Karahan Tepe. So this was one of the revelations that came out of there, that these people were interested in what we call today galactic centre, the centre of our own Milky Way galaxy. So, that in itself, I think is quite extraordinary, don't you think?
I do, yes. And it's, just another part in, sort of this uncovering that you've been doing now since, as you say, beginning in 1996 with the publication from The Ashes of Angels. That has been literally putting a new perspective on our understanding of the universe in prehistory and how that was viewed by ancient peoples. And this obviously is taking it back even further in time now, because we're now pushing the origins of civilization back to, as you said, something around, sort of 10, 11,000, 12,000, even beyond that, which is obviously very important material to get out there.
Yeah, and I think what's important here is that this book isn't simply about the Taş Tepeler culture. By the way, that's the name that the archaeologists and the Turkish Ministry of Culture and Tourism want to use for the culture behind the construction of Göbekli and Karahan. But what I do is to show that the knowledge, the wisdom, the technology, the innovation, the cosmogony, the cosmology of Karahan in particular, because obviously that's what the book's called, comes from a much earlier source. We're not necessarily talking in terms of a lost civilization, but we're talking about high culture that may have existed as much as 30 to 40,000 years ago, and can probably be traced back via the Eurasian steppe all the way to Siberia and Mongolia, beyond the Ural Mountains that divide Europe to Asia. And, you know, you have to ask yourself what was going on in Siberia and Mongolia as much as 30, 40,000 years ago. And of course, for that, you have to start looking at some of our distant cousins, in particular the Denisovans, who were incredibly sophisticated, right the way down to their demise around 45,000 years ago, when our first ancestors reached this same region and quite clearly interbred with them, and then carried the legacy of the Denisovans to other parts of the world, including Southwest Asia, and through that into Anatolia. And I think that the creation of Taş Tepeler involves prime movers who basically came into the throw and said to the local people, look, you know, we can ensure that no bad things happen in your world, like cataclysms that almost certainly triggered the Younger Dryas event, which is a 1,200-year mini ice age that had preceded the building of places like Göbekli Tepe and Karahan Tepe. And that if you work with us and allow us to build these incredible monuments, we'll ensure that the world is stable from now on. And of course, they were essentially right in that. But quite clearly, there was a cosmopolitan mix of people in Eastern Anatolia at this time. People probably coming up from the Levant, people coming from Western Turkey, other people in the mountains of the Zagros, you know, and all of these with pieces of the jigsaw that was gradually going to come together and create this incredible high culture, what I would call the first post-Ice Age civilization of the world, in my opinion. And this is remembered in myth and legend as the stories of the Anunnaki. The Anunnaki is a Babylonian term. The original term was Anunna, the Anunna. And this means basically the people of the sky, or the sky people. And although it might be popular to look at the Anunnaki or the Anunna as space beings that came down here from another planet, I don't think that's the case, and I know Richard doesn't think so as well. We've obviously done a lot of research on this across the years. You know, we believe that they were the prime movers behind the creation of Taş Tepeler. And Professor Klaus Schmidt, the discoverer of Göbekli Tepe in 1994, he wrote a book all about Göbekli that came out in 2012, and he also concluded that the Anunna were the ancestors, or the direct ancestors, of those that created Göbekli Tepe, and that the twin central pillars of the various enclosures represented them. More than that, that the place of the Anunnaki, which is known as the Duku Mound, he believed actually was Göbekli Tepe itself. And the story goes that the Anunnaki gave us sheep and grain, which is quite clearly a metaphor for the creation, the invention of animal husbandry and agriculture, particularly the first cultivation of cereal products like wheat. But beyond this is the fact that you also have the Watchers and the Nephilim of the Book of Enoch. They too were said to have given us the rudiments of civilization. And as far back as my book, From the Ashes of Angels, 1996, this shows that they were a shamanic elite that kick-started the Neolithic Revolution in southeastern Turkey at the end of the last ice age. And I was writing that book at the very moment that the first spades were going into the ground at Göbekli Tepe. And that's a site I would not get to hear about until the year 2000, when it was announced in the German press that it existed. And of course, everything's moved forward from there. And obviously, Karahan Tepe is the latest Taş Tepeler site that's under the spotlight. Incredible stuff is being found there. I mean, not just portable objects and massive enclosures with T-shaped pillars and standing statues and figurines, which are all explained in this book, but also there are alignments not only towards the stars of Scorpius, the Milky Way, the Galactic bulge, but also obviously solar alignments towards the solstices. I discovered a solar alignment there towards the midsummer sunset, and my good friends Hugh Newman and JJ Ainsworth discovered an incredible alignment towards midwinter, where a dagger of light pierces into the pillar shrine and hits the face of this massive giant head that's coming out of the west wall of the enclosure. In fact, there we go. There's pictures of it there. I've witnessed it myself on a few occasions, and it's quite an incredible. And the whole story of that is given by Hugh and JJ as an appendix in the book. So this is fully comprehensive, fully updated, and hopefully you will indulge in a copy in due course. So with that, I shall say thank you to my good friend, Mr. Richard Wall.
Thank you.
And the quest continues. So thank you very much.
Thank you.